Hello, my name is Barry Naroff. I'm a New York State licensed psychotherapist and a professional spiritual intuitive. Today, the topic is going to be on stress. Okay, now there's many reasons to stress, many ways of dealing with stress. Now, first is two basic kinds of stress. There's stress from the environment, the situation, which unfortunately, being reality-based, will continue until it's not there anymore. But then there's the other component, and that has to do with the psychological reaction to stress and psychological cause of stress. That can be dealt with. Now, stress, of course, can take many, many different forms. It can cause irritability or a form of anger. It can cause binge eating. It can cause compulsive behavior, addictive behavior. These are attempts to self-comfort. Alcohol, drugs, of course, obvious ways that people use to deal with stress because they don't have the tools, so they turn to the external to relieve the stress. But of course, it only relieves it temporarily, and then the stress comes back, and sometimes it comes back even stronger. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the psychological causes and ways of dealing with stress. First of all, stress is a psychological reaction that some people have and some people don't have. It's entirely voluntary. That's something that most people don't really understand. When one is in a psychologically stressful situation, one does not have to react with the habitual patterns that are supposed to be stress relieving. And just to be clear, a lot of the ways we cope with stress are habit patterns. They're habitual. These are the ways we always know. They're also known as coping mechanisms. But they help you cope, but they don't really resolve the problem. Stress is something that comes, we feel it in our heart many times. There's a sort of a tightness. Stress can be butterflies in the stomach. Stress is almost always having fear at the root. Now, most people who are stressed don't really think about, okay, what exactly is causing stress? They just say, oh my God, when you do this, I'm so stressed. Or when this happens, I get so stressed. I have difficulty coping. It's fear. Not always, but I would say at least 95% of the time, if not a little higher. So the best way to deal with fear, because fear has its greatest hold over you when you haven't really thought it through and you don't really know what you're afraid of. So the best way to deal with fear is to guess. Sit quietly and take a look. And ask yourself, have a little dialogue if you wish. Okay, what am I so scared of? What's frightening me? Is it the person, the situation, or is it that I feel inadequate to handle it, to deal with it? Very, very important questions. And there are also another great way for those who can, and not everybody can, and that's perfectly fine. But for those who can, you introspect. You go in, and for those who have a dialogue with their subconscious, and let's face it, most people do not, but some people will, and for those who can, ask your subconscious, because stress and fear usually is housed in the subconscious, not usually in the conscious mind. The conscious mind can know anger. It feels the ramifications of stress. It can feel withdrawal, sadness, depression, worry, anxiety. But these are all things the conscious mind is capable of knowing. But the cause underneath it all has to do with whatever the subconscious is doing. So as I was saying, those who are capable, go within and ask your subconscious, okay, what's going on? What are you so stressed about? In other words, what are you afraid of? Sometimes the answers may really surprise you. It may be something as simple as, oh my God, I have to make all these phone calls and I really hate talking on the phone. Or, God, I have to go for another job interview and I don't know if I have the right clothes and this shirt doesn't look good and this blouse is not attractive and I don't have anything to wear. Sometimes these are very fear-inducing subjects, and sometimes it's much more, oh, there's probably so many people applying for the job. What chance do I have? I'm just not as good as everybody, so why should they hire me? Why do I even bother going for the interview? They're just going to reject me. Very stressful. Fear, all kinds of fear. So when you actually know what's going on, that's the first step in taking care of it, because then you have the option, all right, now I know. This is what I'm scared of. Generally, it's not just one thing. Generally, it's a complex combination of things, but you have to start somewhere. So once you identify a stressor, whether it's fear-inducing or something first cousin, anxiety is just another example of fear. You start looking at it and saying, okay, do I really need to be afraid of this? Is there something I can come up with that would be a good solution? Sometimes you can find, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just a matter of going into the closet and digging a little deeper, metaphorical as well as the literal closet. And sometimes you actually have to get external help to help guide you and to go down and explore and resolve this particular fear pattern and any others that may exist. Now, I'm not saying just because you identify and solve that fear, all of a sudden you're not going to be anxious anymore, you're not going to feel stressed. No. As I said, stress is a very complex issue. And there's usually a combination of conscious and unconscious patterns that are operating. Basically, unconscious and subconscious are synonyms for the same thing, the way that I use it. Freudians have a different definition, and Jungians have a different definition, but generally speaking, in common parlance, unconscious and subconscious is sort of interchangeable. Okay, back to the main thing. So stress is actually a very, very complex issue. So many times you go within, you find out what's going on, and you still have all the stress. So going to a professional who can help you explore what's going on can prove very, very useful. And the highest form of stress, which some people do have, and probably everybody's had at least once in their life, is called an anxiety attack or a panic attack. This is where the heart races, you get sweaty, it's really, really hard to think. Your mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour. And a lot of people check themselves into the hospital when they have panic attacks because the heart is thumping so much. They get scared. They think they're having a heart attack. Stress is something that can cause these type of panic attacks, and it's generally not something you can resolve on your own. A lot of people who have it go to a psychiatrist. They get medication. If it's a temporarily stressful situation, then medication can be very useful. It gets you through the situation, particularly if it's externally caused. Medication can help calm you down. And then when the situation resolves itself, the stress tends to go away and you could get off the meds. But there are some people who experience extensive stress and periodic panic attacks, and there's no discernible cause. Their external life is fine, their relationships are good, their finances are good. There's really nothing going on. So for people like that, you really need to have psychological help to take a look and say, okay, I'm having all these attacks. My life is actually pretty good. Why? Why is this happening to me? And why do I get so stressed? Oh my God, it's a red light. I'm late. Oh my God, oh my God. That's an exaggerated reaction. And probably everybody gets it to some extent. But when it's major, definitely you have to turn to help. Like I said, if it's external or temporary psychological cause, meds are great, but who wants to be on medication for years? And then there are side effects and tolerance, and you have to take higher dosages and occasionally switch meds, which may have other causes and other side effects, and then there's the cost. And even if you have insurance that covers it, who wants to be dependent upon medication? So that's basically all about stress. Now, I'm sure there's a lot more, but this is an overview, and I hope it helps. So again, my name is Barry Naroff. I'm a New York State licensed psychotherapist and a professional spiritual intuitive. If you want to learn more about me, my webpage is birthrighttherapy.com. And if you want to email me, barry@birthrighttherapy.com. And feel free to write in the comments section if you have questions or any feedback. Please, I would love it. And if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, please do subscribe. And if you want to be notified each time a new video is posted, right next to the subscribe, there's a little bell. Click it. If your sound is on, it'll make a sound. And then each time a new video is posted, you'll be notified. So thank you very much. And until the next time, bye.